Morning. Morning guys, Friday the 7th of August. What looks to be a sunny day today as well as warm. I met with the two coaches that I do some of the work with, developing our business around the courageous coaching conversations. We had a socially distanced meeting, which was quite nice actually to be with them in the sort of physical presence, as opposed to being on, sort of Zoom. But when I arrived, because obviously I'm always, so obviously, I say that obviously a lot, but I suppose when I say obviously it's because I know myself well. I was a couple of minutes late, which, is unusual for me in the sense that I'm got, real thing about being on time, timekeeping and so on. And Rosie had also just arrived, and as I walked through the door I started to apologise and say I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late, and Rosie started to say, oh, it's okay, I was a few minutes late, I've only just arrived. And then I immediately said something along the lines of, no, but that's not acceptable for me. And she was very clear, that I was saying for me, talking about myself. And then as other conversations ensued about other things, one point got talking about the pressure, the expectations, putting ourselves, and also talking about, taking, if you like, what does it mean for me to take a break, because I have worked pretty solidly with my own, sort of work clients and some of the college work throughout the whole of the lockdown. And I was, and they were saying about, being sort of hard on yourself and pushing yourself. And I was sort of saying, well, actually, I'm way better now. I'm way kinder, way easier. I said the other day, we noticed that taking the pressure off myself, to not always get things absolutely spot on, online. The way that other person said the other day at that initial meeting, how my acceptance she really took away because I wasn't getting all, annoyed or worried or wound up about the fact they couldn't get onto Zoom for a while. So I was sort of saying to them, well, in comparison, I think I'm really, eased off massively in the last couple of years. And I think I said before as well about, I'd actually gave up a couple of big pieces of work about 2 to maybe slightly more now, years ago, because I knew that energy-wise and so forth, it just, wasn't really sustainable. But even amongst all of that, and me saying that and explaining how that I'm actually so much easier on myself now than ever before, and they just kept laughing. I was like, honestly, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we get it. We get you keep saying that you're easier on yourself than ever before. And obviously it is it's comparison, isn't it? Perspective, it's what you compare it to. But they were sort of laughing because I think what they were laughing at was the fact that, they're saying, but man, you still can be hard on yourself at times. You've still got these, quite high expectations. I know I'm quite driven, and yeah, to change the habit of a lifetime. It literally, I've said to people before, it takes an awful lot of time, effort, work, focus to rewire that. And also, it's sort of, when you're doing a lot of your own work as well, it really is about trying to get the balance, because you need a lot of self-discipline. You need self-motivation. You do have to push yourself. It's like, so, and if you are doing your own work, which I have done for a long time, it's like I always just say to people, if you take on your own sort of business, then you have to have, and I certainly always had this mindset of, well, there's no contemplating it's going to fail. That's not even on my radar. It's not an option. It's like the mentality is, well, this has to work, because you're talking about your lifeline, what's bringing in your income, what's enabling you to live a quality of life, have a roof over your head, pay your bills, etc., etc. So I think that's quite an important mentality, I suppose. But at the same time, I mentioned earlier about the balance, so it is recognising where you can start to take the foot off the pedal, if you like, in terms of, I suppose, the metaphor of driving a car, just changing the gear every once in a while. And even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, Rose and Tash are still probably laughing, because they'll be like, oh, well, changing gear, but what about, are you going to actually, what about, stopping the car for a while? So, yeah, it's quite amusing. I was talking to a family member yesterday about possibly, looking at other ideas about setting up their own work. Certainly, they're looking at the moment into the potential of what it would take, what it would need, what it would require. Are you going well? And it's interesting because as we were sort of talking a lot, and they were asking various questions, some could answer really easily, and well, in terms of some of the logistics. But interestingly, there were some that I think, because I've had my own work for such a long time, there was a few I actually wasn't that 100% about, and I remember thinking, oh, do you know what, actually, it would be useful to just have a look into this a little bit more. And I know from experience what it takes, and I know what I've done, and I know what, the logistics of accounts, bookkeeping and so on. But yeah, it just struck me that it maybe there's other stuff, things do change, develop over time. So it's got me thinking, I'm just going to have a bit of a mooch. Just look into a little bit more and make sure that we've got, all the key things, sort of the I's dotted and the T's crossed, so to speak. Within reason, to consider sort of establishing a brand new business. It was interesting when they were talking at one point about a couple of their concerns, which we were saying, well, that's going to be very natural. Everyone will have that, especially it's a big thing, thinking about setting up your own business, your own work. When they were talking about a couple of their concerns, amongst the energy actually they had around the idea of it all, which was great. Come on, Will. I was asking them to, I was asking questions actually about, reminding themselves of what they'd said previously, like how they've, not really enjoyed what they've been doing now for quite a few years. Doesn't really leave them feeling very fulfilled. They have been talking on and off for years about doing something different, and talking about maybe, now is the time, taking that opportunity. Almost like I was sort of asking them questions to, remind me of the bigger picture. And I was also, saying to them about how it could potentially have a real positive impact in other areas of their life. So, in coaching terms, I suppose you think about that wheel of life. If you start to work on one key area, it never just stays with the change in the one key area. Actually will naturally begin to affect other areas in different ways. Some you end up then having to revisit because it needs a little bit more change, adapting, a bit more focus and energy. Then it may mean others need less, so it is a constant readjustment. But yeah, it's a good, really created a lot of great energy, ideas. The whole piece about even coming up with a business name. To be honest with you, it seems that long ago since I came up with, no limits, and the whole piece about there's a focus, or sort of highlighted at the NO within no. It was always that paradox of there are no limits, and actually within that you need to know your limits at the same time. I can't remember how and why and when, to some extent. Not in terms of the name itself, not that it really matters, because the important thing is that it's right for me. But now I'm thinking about it, I did actually a while back when we were looking at moving a few things in the garage. I remember finding some paperwork that was, I think it probably was in the early days of looking at establishing logos and limits, making it more professional and so on. So now I'm thinking, I'm sure it's relatively easy to find actually, because I know I moved it but so that it was quite, at the top of everything else. So I might go back to that. it's always good to revisit. Just revisit. Make sure you're on track, or you're on purpose. You're doing what you're saying that you want to do, or what you want to achieve. Because when you've been doing it a while, it's easy to. I mean, I love and enjoy my work, but if you're not always perhaps taking a step back to look at the bigger picture, it is easy at times to just get caught up in the day-to-day, week-to-week reality of the work, and not necessarily look at the bigger picture as well. So something to need to just think about. As we'd say in coaching, the big A and the little A. Actually, it's quite useful now even sort of sharing this, because I'm also thinking, well, that's in a way a little bit about what talking about Rose and Natasha about the courageous coaching conversations. It's like we've got caught up a little bit in doing the lives and the lockdown and the page and so on. But that's some small detail. It's a small A, whereas Rose was reminding us of the bigger A, and it's important to have both working in and on the business, I suppose, is another way of looking at it. And that's actually what we're starting to unpick and do a little bit more of, I think, within courageous coaching conversations at the moment. So I think this reflection now, this thought process actually will, I think, sort of help in relation to thinking about a number of other things, both my own work, thinking about stuff with courageous coaching conversations, but also perhaps with a family member as well, helping those conversations to be where they need to be, go in the right place, picking all the key points. It's not even in business so as well. I was just thinking then, I'll end with this now. It's sort of like, well, what's your little A and your big A in your other aspects of your life, really. Business work, obviously it's one. It's a big one for a number of people. But what's your big A and your little A with your significant relationships, your intimate relationships? What's your big A and your little A with your family members, whether that be siblings or children? What's your big A and your little A for your health? That can be both physical and emotional. What's your big A and your little A for your financial side of your life? What's your big A and your little A for your living environment? So, good reflections. So guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a fun-filled, fruity-freaky, fantabulosy, fuzzy Friday, and shall speak to you later. Take care, bye.